Hey guys, welcome to an episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host Omar, and we talk about leadership and what it means to be a leader in today's retail world, specifically the smaller niche retail spaces. Think AV, think appliances, think furniture, think wireless retail. Okay, we're talking about things where it actually matters to know the subject at hand and the longevity of the employees. And that's where you, as a leader, need more assistance. You're probably finding that it's harder to find people to work. There's so many layoffs right now in the news. Everybody is cutting positions, cutting jobs, laying people off because AI is replacing the workforce, but it really isn't, right? You hear so many times AIs come in, replace the workforce, only for those same companies to come back and rehire the majority of the people, or rehire the majority of those positions they let go of. Now, for you, when it comes to the retail world, you might be thinking, well, AI is not really affecting us so much. It's just not really doing much in our space. And that's where you have to look at it from this lens. One, your people deal with a very specific skill set, and those clients and customers that come in are looking for a very specific type of assistance. They're not just walking in really window shopping. Okay. They've probably done some of the research themselves online and probably more fucking confused than when they first started. And that's where your people need to come in. Now, if you're hiring people and you're like, I just can't find people to work, I can't find people that stay, the people just aren't getting what I'm teaching or getting any of the material they're supposed to know and understand, and they've never had any industry experience, and they're less than 90 days into that role, you need to set certain expectations up. And a lot of that comes from the recruiting side, from the hiring side, before they even step foot into the role. Because some of those employees might be disillusioned. They were, you know, sold this great vision of the company they're stepping into, that, they at least know what the fuck they're doing. There's going to be some kind of guidance, some kind of training, formal type of training, at least something for them to be able to truly understand what they're doing so that they have the right footing when they actually get into the role, right, and fully start doing what they're supposed to be doing. But we're setting up the wrong expectations. We're telling him, hey, this role is entry level. Okay. This role is going to pay X amount or can pay X amounts. The one that I love to hear all the time is fucking, this has uncapped commissions. Listen, unless your teams have people making $250,000 plus just on the commission alone, don't tell them that it's uncapped commissions, right? Give them a realistic guide, a realistic band of what they can expect in year one, in year two, once they're fully tenured, okay? That is setting the right expectations. You have somebody who's coming in and you're telling them that they can make, uncapped commissions, and cool. What does it look like to make $150,000? Oh, well, that's not realistic for this particular role. Then don't fucking tell them that it's going to be uncapped commissions. You have to set the right expectations. Hey, in this role, first starting off, you know, clear guidance with base, bonus, commissions, whatever, right? Realistically, you could be looking at $60,000 to $80,000. Now, you could make more, right, if you get the material sooner, if you truly start understanding and really get ingrained in what you're learning. And once you learn that, realistically, like year two, year one, after year one, after year two, you could potentially be making 80,000 to 120, 120, 150, whatever. Okay, but you have to set the right expectations, because then they have a clear roadmap. And then for you as a leader, you truly understand where you need to meet your individual contributors, meet your team members, meet your employees on what they're going to need to work on to truly excel at that. Because if you're bringing them on board and you're not spending any time actually training them on the fucking sales floor, you're giving it to somebody who has no fucking experience doing anything of what they're going to be doing, has no fucking experience on any of the systems, can't answer any of the basic stuff of what happens if we run into this issue, right? Especially if you're doing, where they're shadowing some of the people on the sales floor and they have a question about, hey, so they did this, why did they do that, why did they do this? you have to have people that have a basic understanding of what they're doing. Now, you can bring other people that have understanding in other aspects of sales, okay? But if you're putting somebody in that role to train them that doesn't understand sales psychology, has never done the role, has no fucking experience against what they're actually going to be doing, that's three strikes for you, bro. That is three strikes on what your new people are supposed to be expecting. So it really does pay to have people that understand what they're doing. That's why you want to train your people up and get them into different positions within the organization. Because imagine the difference between somebody who has no experience that is training your new hires in your business and having somebody who grew up within that organization and understands being on the sales floor, understands the back end systems, understands some of the struggles your people are going to see once they hit the floor. Okay. That starts to make a difference. Imagine those two, right? Training individuals and then having those individuals go up against each other in a contest to see who's going to perform better. I can hands down guarantee you the people trained by the person with the experience are going to have a much better time and easier time actually hitting goals and attaining those metrics because they have a better understanding of what they're going to be seeing. That's what it means. For you as a leader, now you have to spend less time correcting behaviors or helping to build the habits because those team members have a better understanding of what it is they're going to be doing. They have a better roadmap of what they need to do to accomplish certain goals. And that's what we have to focus on as leaders, giving our team members those roadmaps. And you're going to have to be the one that builds them. You're going to have to be the one that does a trial and error to see what's going to work the best. It's never going to work 100% of the time. You're never going to have a class of new hires that comes in or a batch of new hires that comes in and 100% of them understand exactly what they're going to be doing, especially when we're talking about giving them only a 2-week training course. Okay. It's not going to happen. Now, I will say this, I have in the past been a big fan. I've never worked for them, but I've been a big fan of Enterprise Rent a Car because the way that they do things, they set the proper expectations during the interview period. Okay. They tell you, hey, you're going to make between this much and this much realistically. You're going to be putting in this much hours. You're going to be doing a bunch of grunt work. And if that's not, the kind of thing you want to do, this is not the place for you. They set that in the interview process. Okay. It is super important to set those expectations. I'm not saying that, hey, everybody who makes it through is going to be cut out. But once they make it through the interview process, Enterprise is committed. I don't know if this is the case, right? It was when I was in college and after graduation and all that for the longest time. But they were committed to making sure that those people learned everything they could about the business and taught them not just leadership skills, but also customer service, also sales. Okay. They taught them what they needed to know so that they can become successful. And they took it upon themselves. And you can't work in any other department within the organization unless you have a fucking basic understanding of what it means to work on the front lines. Because that is the core of the business. Without the front lines, there is no business. And you can't help them. Doesn't matter if you're in IT, doesn't matter if you're in HR. You truly can't help them unless you have a basic understanding of some of the things that your people go through in their day to day. That's the hard part for a lot of leaders to really remember because a lot of you guys forget what it's like to be brand new. You fall back on your story, you fall back on your history in the industry, in the organization. I've been in this organization for, 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. Okay, cool. What was it like when you first started? What were some of the struggles? You have truly forgotten. Some of the best leaders I've met will still spend time with their friend staff. Okay. Because they understand without them, there is no business. There is nothing that can be done in the organization as a whole without their people in the front lines, without their sales staff. Okay. That's the important thing. So you as a leader cannot just be holed up. You need to spend time visiting some of the locations, understanding, maybe things have changed, maybe there's new struggles. Maybe there's a disconnect with information not coming to the top or to your office from the front lines because you have inadequate leadership. And that could be because of a lot of different things. It could be they haven't been taught how to properly communicate those issues up, or they haven't been taught how to be able to actually address the concerns, help the staff, and actually make sure that shit gets taken care of. They think, oh, well, if I don't make if I don't ruffle any feathers, then there's nothing to worry about. We'll just let it be. But what if you have audits because you're part of your franchise? And that is part of what you need to make sure that you constantly get paid the top dollar amount because you're representing a brand as a franchisee. Those are the kind of things. Maybe you have a location that's going into a little bit of disarray and you're wondering why traffic is down. When somebody walks into a location and it looks like shit, guess what those customers are going to think about when it comes to the type of experience they can expect? Oh, great. I'm supposed to be looking at dropping 20, 30, $40,000 and this place looks like this? Why the fuck would I drop 20, 40 grand in a location that can't keep basic upkeep? And then also, what does it say about the sales staff? About their inability to pay attention to details. It's the small things that we do day in and day out. And guess what? That doesn't come from the sales staff. That comes from the leadership. That is a leadership failure when locations are like that. When staffing is low and you're having issues with staffing, that is not a location issue. That is a leadership issue. I will say that again. Your staffing issues are because of you as a leader, failing your teams. Either you're not staffing adequately enough and you're trying to run lean and mean, but God forbid somebody have a life and somebody fucking call out or have an emergency. And you're up in arms now because you can't afford to have one person out in a location because it throws the entire staffing situation in your market off. What do you think that does to your team's morale? What do you think it does to their performance? Do you think they want to perform when it's like that? No. They got shit they have to do and take care of. They're going to have kids. They're going to have emergencies that happen, right? What if they get in a wreck? There's things that happen that unfortunately makes things uncertain. So you have to have the adequate amount of staffing so that that doesn't impact your teams, so that they can have a life outside of work. They don't live to work. That was what it will get them to quit faster. Unless it is, employee owned and operated, where the employees are the ones who are compensated outside of the hourly for the performance at the year end based on the organization, they will never have as much skin in the game as the owners. And if you're an owner operator who's working in the business, wondering why I can't get my people to just be as committed to this company as I am, it's not their job to be committed. Okay? It's not their job. They don't have a skin in the game. They're getting paid their hourly, their base, plus whatever bonus commission structure you have set up. And that's as much as they're going to go. Okay? And then once in a while, and get this, guys, that's fucking okay. Maybe they don't want to be committed. They're okay making their 40, 60, $70,000 a year because everything else is taken care of and that's what they need. Cool. And they feel they've contributed something. Hey, if they don't want to go above and beyond, but they're doing good, that's not their concern, right? But you as a leader need to understand that you have to do right by your team if you want them to run through a fucking brick wall for you. If you want them to perform at a level you've never seen before, you need to become a leader who serves their team at a level we've never seen before. I'm not saying be their best friend. I'm saying offer training, mentoring, and guidance. I'm saying give them a roadmap to truly succeed from the first day they step foot within the organization. Don't set them up and sell them on this vision of a company that isn't being delivered on, because they're expecting this and you're giving them this down here. And that disconnect is what's going to get you to have a bunch of people that leave within the first 90 days. Okay. That's when you know you have a complete disconnect, and it is a leadership issue. Is when you have so many of your new hires leave within the first 90 days. And if you think, oh, no, they just weren't cut out for this. No, take it from somebody who has recruited and hired for areas where you literally could barely find anybody. And yet those people were trained up to perform as well as somebody who had been in the organization within 3 years, all within a 90-day period. You can level people up. You can get their performance to go higher. But what are you doing as a leader to make sure that happens? What are you doing as a leader to help your team to get to that level of performance? And if you're wondering, what the hell? Why can't my team just get it done, get it figured out? Then you need to be subscribed to this channel. You need to be able to grab all the materials I have and send me a message. Let's connect, right? Let's see what is going on. Now, before I leave, guys, I just want to take a step back and say thanks once again for joining me here at Sales Manager Academy podcast. If you follow me on TikTok, you're seeing this before anybody else. So just keep that in mind. If you're on the tube, okay, that means that, hey, you're getting this. Be sure to subscribe because I put out an episode pretty much every weekday, or not every weekday, every week. Okay. So hit that subscribe, like button. Let me know what you guys struggle with. Let me know some of your wins, right? Send me a DM, leave it in the comments. But guys, thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one.